Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what it truly means to flourish? I'm not just talking about surviving, but really, truly growing strong and fruitful, no matter what season of life you're in. Well, today, we are diving deep into Psalm 92. It's a beautiful song for the Sabbath, and you know what? It holds the key to a life of enduring strength and joy. Welcome. This devotional explainer is brought to you by the You Need Faith in Jesus team. So, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the simple goodness of praising God every single day. Then we'll get into the sheer scale of his works. After that, we'll unpack this incredible picture of grass versus a cedar tree. It's a game changer. And we'll wrap it all up with some practical steps you can take to really flourish. Sound good? Let's get into it. All right, we're kicking things off right where the psalm does, in verses 1 through 4. And it starts with a truth that's really the bedrock for a life of faith: worship. The psalm just comes right out of the gate with this powerful declaration in verse 1. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High. Now catch that. It doesn't say it's a duty or a chore. It says it's a good thing. It's good for us. It's beneficial, it's healthy, and it just sets our hearts right, reminding us who is truly in charge. And then, boom, right in verse 2, we get this amazing practical rhythm for our lives: to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness every night. You see, this isn't just a once-a-week thing. It's a daily practice, booking our days with God's love to start and his faithfulness to end. Now that word, loving kindness, this is so cool. In the original Hebrew, the word is hesed, and it doesn't just mean God is nice. It describes a loyal, unbreakable, covenant kind of love. It's a love that never gives up on you. Just think about starting every single morning remembering that. It changes everything. So why do we praise him? What's the fuel for this? Well, the psalmist makes it crystal clear in verse 4. It's because of what God has done. For thou, Lord, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the works of thy hands. Whether that's the awe-inspiring work of creation or a super personal answer to prayer in your own life, when we see God's hand at work, it fills us with this triumphant joy. And that joy, well, it leads us into something even deeper in verses 5 through 9. We're invited to kind of zoom out and start seeing the world from God's perspective. You can feel the shift in verse 5, can't you? The psalmist goes from his personal gladness to just pure awe. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. He's realizing that behind everything God does, there are plans and purposes so deep that we can barely scratch the surface. And this leads to a pretty stark contrast that the psalmist draws out. On one hand, you have the spiritually wise person who sees God's fingerprints everywhere and is just humbled by it. But on the other hand, you have what the King James Version calls the brutish man, someone who just lives by instinct, completely blind to the spiritual reality behind everything. They see the stuff, but they totally miss the God who made the stuff. You know, in the middle of a world that feels chaotic and confusing, this verse is like an anchor for the soul. Evil might seem to be winning for a little while, but God's position never ever changes. But thou, Lord, art most high forevermore. He is eternally and unshakably on his throne. Okay, now we get to the absolute heart of this psalm. It's this powerful metaphor in verses 7 and 12 that paints a picture of two completely different destinies. The psalmist is a realist. He's not ignoring the fact that, yeah, sometimes it really looks like the wicked are winning. They spring as the grass. They shoot up fast. They look green and lush for a season. But we all know what happens to grass, right? It's temporary. It's fragile. And its flourishing is actually just setting it up to be cut down. But now, look at the contrast for the righteous. Wow, they shall flourish like the palm tree, known for its fruit, and grow like a cedar in Lebanon, famous for its incredible strength, its long life, its sheer value. This isn't a flash in the pan. This is a picture of steady, strong, lasting life. Do you see the two destinies laid out side by side? The path of wickedness might look like quick, easy success, but it's a dead end. It leads to destruction. The path of righteousness, though, it's that steady, strong growth that leads to a life that flourishes forever. So the big question is, how do we get to be like that strong, enduring cedar tree? How does that happen? Well, verses 13 through 15 give us the secret. And this is the key. True, lasting flourishing comes from being planted in the house of the Lord. Notice that word, planted. This isn't about being a casual visitor who just drops in now and then. This is about putting down deep roots in fellowship with God and with His people. That's where we get the spiritual food we need to grow strong. So what does it mean to be planted? Well, it means you're intentionally part of a community. You're committed to a local church. It's where you draw life from others, where you get nourished, where you serve and participate. It's about taking Hebrews 10:25 seriously and not giving up on meeting together, because that's what gives us the stability we need. And look at the incredible result. This just blows my mind. A life rooted in God completely defies the world's view of aging. Spiritual life doesn't have to fade away. In fact, it can get stronger and more vibrant, producing fruit even in old age. How amazing is that? But here's the kicker. All this flourishing, this strength, this fruitfulness, it isn't really for us. The ultimate point, the whole reason for it, is so that our lives become a living, breathing testimony that shows a watching world who God really is. Okay, so let's land the plane. How do we take all these incredible truths from Psalm 92 and actually make them a real part of our lives starting today? Here are 3 simple, actionable things you can do. First, build that daily rhythm of praise we talked about. His loving kindness in the morning, His faithfulness at night. Second, don't be a potted plant that can be easily moved around. Get planted. Commit deeply to a local church. And third, start seeing your life as a story, a testimony that points people to God. And this is the grand finale of the whole psalm. It's the ultimate goal of our flourishing lives. Our purpose is to show, to prove, to demonstrate to the world that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in Him. Our lives are meant to prove that He is our stable, perfect, and trustworthy foundation. When you boil it all down, from the daily praise to being planted like a cedar tree, it all comes down to this one simple but incredibly profound truth. So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Your life is telling a story. It is a testimony. The question is, what is your life declaring to the world about God today?